Hello, voiceover friends. It is Ryder, the VO life coach. You've heard me as national brand voice for NASCAR, the professional bull riders, and of course, Ford trucks. And you are listening to the VO Life podcast. Now, pay attention.
Hey, and welcome back. It is the VO Life, the podcast all about living a VO life. And we're kicking off a bunch of interviews for the summer. And I'm really happy to start this one off because Kasey Hott, who I've sat with a couple of years ago at VO Atlanta, who was about to pull the trigger on jumping into all this full time and making a lot of changes in life, is here with us. And also Shar Albert is here with us, who just recently was the winner of our mock audition that we did on Facebook. And congratulations. Yes. And I just want to first welcome you both. Good to have you. You got your coffee cups ready, or how are you guys this morning?
Got some water. Being good. Got the big bottle of water.
Yep. I've got the bottles here on my desk. I have learned the hard way that if I will set 4 bottles of water up here on this desk every morning, I will drink them. And if I use a cup and I have to go fill it up and I have to mess with it, I won't. And then I got my jumbo coffee cup and I put that in between. But yeah, it's just been great that you guys were able to jump on. And let me first start a little bit with you, Shar, and the mock audition. Mm-hmm. Where did you draw your inspiration for your read? Did you base that on a character or a situation, or what did you do to hit your read like you did?
I just let my imagination roll wild with, you said, think about the most outrageous infomercial that you could find. And, right. Just tried to picture that crazy person that you see on those QVC.
Yeah.
Sales things like that.
Exactly.
And
we don't get to do those all the time, so that's what I thought made this one different. And we'll come back and do a serious one later.
Yeah.
I know the last one we did that was serious, we had over 70 people put in.
Wow.
And this one, it was just around 12 or 15. I can't remember. It wasn't near as many, and maybe it was a little bit too goofy for people.
Maybe people are afraid to. I love being funny. I love anything that's humorous. And I thought that was a great opportunity to just, be wacky.
Yeah, for sure. I get excited when those
over the top.
Those type auditions come in. You don't see them that often.
No.
I always also look for the over-the-top sales things, like the screaming, yelling car commercials and stuff. I love that stuff. You just don't see it very often. With that, let me circle back on the mock audition just a little bit and just say that even though it was a small amount that came in, there were a lot of good entries. I can honestly say for one of the first times, there was no bad audio in all of them.
Nice.
All the audio was very acceptable. Some was a little cleaner and a little louder and a little sharper than others, but I would not have kicked anybody out for audio. But I will say 2 people mislabeled. They did not match the label. Folks, that is so important because most of your casting agents and other agents and wherever you're submitting, they have their inbox set up to catch that. Mm-hmm. And they are putting those into a folder based on you labeling correctly a lot of times. So be sure and do that, because you'll see in a lot of these castings, it'll say, don't change the spaces, don't add a dash, don't do anything, copy this and just put your name in it. They're trying to make it easy. Yeah. And I did the same. I put it in there where you could copy it if you needed to, but we did have 2 people that missed the boat on that. And, I didn't kick them out for that because we had so few, but pay attention to that. It's important. Every little thing matters. Casting agents are like, they got those elephant memories. They won't forget that you did that, and so don't do that. As we like to say, don't do that. So let me jump into get away from the mock for a while, and like I said, we'll take a listen here to the winner and a couple of other things.
Are Are you tired of working hard to build a voiceover career? Wish you could skip the coaching, training, and years of practice? Well, now you can with VO Juice. Just one sip and boom, you've got pipes smoother than Morgan Freeman. No booth? No problem. No talent? Even better. VO Juice turns you into a booking machine in minutes. Side effects may include delusion, disappointment, and a sudden urge to buy a USB mic. Call 1-800-NOPE-NOPE. That's 1-800-NOPE-NOPE. Or visit vojuice.com. And stop believing everything you see on Facebook.
All right, so let me jump into history, and let's talk to Kasey first. Kasey, when I last sat and talked to you at VO Atlanta last year, not this year, you were nervously anticipating change, about to get married. You had so much going on, and bless your heart, you know, here you are, you're doing it.
I am doing it. It was a crazy year. I'm not sure I would recommend it to anyone because it was a little too wild. I quit my job that I'd been doing for 15 years, which was huge. I had been doing local news and journalism for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And things had just kind of changed a lot in that. And I was getting ready to get married, and we were getting ready to move, and we bought a house, then I was getting ready to go full time. So it was like everything. I don't know if I was crazy or if it was a good way to do it, just to kind of like rip off the Band-Aid and do it all at once. But I'm still here, so I'm still here.
Yeah, you're definitely here. I want to get into a little bit of that. That's a heck of a transition, because a lot of us, had I started in any of this 20 years ago, I would have loved to have been a TV weatherman, or I would have loved to have been I love the news stuff.
You would have been a good one.
I would have liked it. It would have been fun. Or any kind of personality like that. And then now that I've started doing this year, finally, at this ripe old age of 61, I jump into on-camera stuff. And I had no idea there was such a market for that for people my age. It's huge, especially for spokesperson content where I'm representing a supplement, or I'm talking about a hearing aid or stuff like that. It's crazy. And some of the pricing on it, it's like a lot of things. I'm like, no, there's no way I'll do it for that. I had one the other day. It said they were going to send me this big roll of plastic, and you put it under your house. It's like a vapor barrier. And you take, you film it, and you're under there putting it in, and we'll pay you $300. I said, no, you won't. No, you won't. I'm not doing it for that. No. And it's always, it's always that stuff that runs you off. But that's a heck of a transition. So getting out of TV and going into VO, you're still using your talent, using your voice, but that's a big change. Why make that change?
It is a very big change, and a lot of it it's kind of sad, but local news has really, really changed a lot, and it's because I think a lot of us, we don't really get our news from watching the 6 o'clock or the 11 o'clock news anymore, right? It's just all on our phones, and we're getting alerts and updates, and so that advertising, all the money that they used to make from advertising is really not, people aren't advertising there anymore because they know that they're going to get more views on YouTube or digital or, and so it's just changed a lot in that way. And it's kind of sad to see. I've had a lot of my friends who have been doing it for years, who I was like, oh, this person will never get out of news. Like, they're a news junkie through and through, but they have left the business. And so there is a big transition there, and it'll be interesting, I think, to see what happens with local news over the next, 5-10 years. Yeah. So that was a big part of it. But another big part was just the whole, I was kind of forced, I think, into making that jump. And I was lucky because I'd been doing it, part-time for maybe 4 years before I made that big transition into full-time. But I was kind of like pushed into the pool because I was getting married and we had to move. My husband, he's in the Space Force, which is kind of cool. And so he got, and so they're called guardians in the Space Force.
Love
so
that.
It sounds fake, but it's real. And so he had to move to like the DC area, and so I was like, okay, this is as good a time as any if I'm going to make this jump, Right. And I think that if I would not have had that push, I honestly think I would have stayed for a lot longer, and I don't know that I would have been very happy. So I'm thankful for that push. Yeah,
it is interesting. And as an outsider, not being in the industry, I'm watching that happen too. I mean, I try to watch our local stuff from time to time, but as you said, you get so much information during the day. At the end of the day, why sit down at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and watch it, or 10 o'clock?
Yeah, you know all the highlights already, right?
Yeah. And most of the personalities that drew me to it, they're gone. They have either left or, as you said, some been pushed out, and it's sad. It is really, really sad. And I understand it because advertising drives it all, right?
Right.
The same way with radio. I mean, look at how radio has changed over the last 10 years. You know, we used to have all local content, local DJs, morning shows concentrated on your area, and now, you know, there's a couple of guys in Nashville who are all over the country doing tons of morning content all over the country, and somehow they localize it locally and make it sound local, but they're not. They're here in Nashville, and Big D and Bubba. You know, it's all I hear about. And those two guys are everywhere, and they're doing well, and they're nice guys, and congrats to them for really being smart several years ago and going out and doing that on their own and hoping it would work, and it worked. And, you know, they were fortunate. But look at all of the people on morning shows who no longer have a morning spot in a small town or a local town because it's all being networked in. And
it's so true. And I think it's hard because I think a lot of people, they see it's such like a public-facing job, you know, DJs and things like that, weathermen, and they think, oh, they're making so much money, they're just crushing it. And that is a huge misconception, especially with smaller markets. Right. It is truly a labor of love. And you'll see it more and more as the advertising dollars are going away. A lot of those people, like you said, who have been there for years and years and years, they were making the big money and they were forced out because they just can't pay that anymore. And it's going to younger talent. It's changing a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And the next thing I want to lead into, and then I got questions for Shar too, and we're going to go back and forth. And you guys also, if you think of something when you hear one of you say something, say, I got a question about that, you know, jump in and ask. This is a free-for-all. Okay. All right, so you are having to make the transition, I'm sure, because I can listen to you and I can say, what a great TV voice. You know,
that is very kind.
Well, you have it. I mean, you have it. Yeah. You have that delivery. Yeah. So how is that an obstacle right now for voiceover?
Yeah, it is definitely an obstacle. I was actually just talking to Brad Hyland about it the other day because I think it's after so many years of, you know, like, okay, it's 5 o'clock and you have to be on and you have to be, you know, your diction has to be great and it has to sound perfect and come across. But that is not the read, I'm sure both of you know, that is in right now at all, is, you know, being polished, being announcer. Yes, it is all conversational. And so that's been something that really, really is tricky for me. And in a way, it helps in certain areas, you know, when it comes to banking or when it comes to medical narration or a bunch of corporate, that really helps. But I really, really, really have had to make it an extra effort to work on the conversational and just like the real person reads. Right. And I think I've come a long way, but I still have a long way to go.
Yeah, it is. It's the hardest for all of us. And me, never even having worked in any type of broadcasting before, still being a presenter where I worked, a trainer. You know, I was in upper management and I was always having to give talks in front of all the employees. You're in front of a couple hundred people and talking about, you know, we have these benefit changes coming and we have this coming and that coming and, you know, this year we're working on that. And you become more eloquent in how you say things. And now that, you know, no, just however it comes out, make it natural. You know, and for years and years and years, people said, don't say community, say community. Even though you're in the South, you have to speak these things the right way. And my accent became business Southern or proper Southern. It's still Southern. Everybody can hear it. But on the other hand, it's not hillbilly or redneck Southern. And I think that, you know, that's part of it. And what I have to try to do is minimize not only sometimes the Southern, but make sure I don't slip in the elongated vowels and the, you know, dragging out something and making it 3 syllables instead of 1. You know, so I can even imagine with this that you're just trying to sound like other people and not talk at them, but talk to them. Is that that's the challenge?
Yes, and that is a big change. You're right, and it's a lot of it is that just kind of getting into that mindset and being like, okay, it's okay if it's not perfect, or if you have a little stuff, because that's what real people sound like, and I think that's what people are looking like. So you're right, it's just years of that you kind of have to try to untrain. And I'm still in the process of that. Yes,
it's built in. And I listen back to the podcast sometimes just for clarity and make sure there's not anything crazy in there before I'll put it up. And I'll hear myself a lot. I'll hesitate and pause, and I'll go, and I'll do that. And I've had people say, "Oh, we like that you do that when you do a read for us." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I sound like I'm lost or I can't think." But they said, that's how it is in the real world.
Yes,
and that's
you
what
sound like a person.
Yeah, you sound like a real person talking to me, and that's what they want. It's hard.
Yeah.
All right, Shar, tell us how long you have been at this and why you got into it.
Well, let's see. I started doing this in January of 22. And I started with, and I still am doing that, I started with audiobooks. That's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to narrate audiobooks. And the reason why was because my background was really in stage performance. So I've done acting on stage. I've done improv. I was part of an improv group way long ago, another life. And I also had some experience with doing audio, not that I'm at that professional level. I know enough to be dangerous. And to do
me.
And to edit my audiobooks. And I thought, I'm going to give that a try. I'm at that point in my life, I'm in my 50s. This is a big switch, and I thought I'm going to pull the trigger and learn how to do this and start my own business. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a wild ride. I've only been doing this part-time because life is crazy, but it's been great. And I've done other types of voiceover too along the way. You were talking about e-learning. I've done e-learning, meditations. Evidently, I have a voice to put people to sleep. I do a lot of meditation. I have
a channel on YouTube, and it's about outer space, and people comment on there all the time. I always put this on so I can go to sleep. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, some fun little in-between things, too. I got to do a voice for an indie film, which was pretty cool, so little bit
the
there.
Opportunities are endless.
It's varied. There's so much.
Yeah, and there's no shame in part-time. No. I mean, my intent was to stay part-time. I got into this for it to be something I would build up to when I decided to retire, and then I would do this to have something to do. Not to make a living, have something to do. Yeah. And that backfired after, when the stuff happened at the end of 2021 and going into 2022 with COVID and things where I was working and the way things were changing. I said, I can't work like this anymore. It just went from fun to I hate it. Yeah. And, had my wife not just told me in October that year, said, just quit. And I said, I can't just quit. I'm, not making that much in this. You'll do fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I'm glad you think so. But fortunately it worked out. But I turned in my notice, gave a 3 months notice, and in January went full time and haven't looked back. And I'm close to, I guess this is year 5. But it's still hard every day. Yeah. And I say this over and over, it's the hardest I've worked for the least amount of money, but had the most fun. So. And you do audiobooks. Bless your heart, as we say. Oh, I have done one, and the company I did it for was Forbes, which was wonderful. And it was done through a publishing company, and they handled everything.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
All I had to do was read, and when I screwed up, read it again.
Yes.
They did the editing.
Incredible.
They did it all. And then they would send me stuff back, and you need to reread this. This has a click in it. This had this noise. And I did all my pickups. And I did learn that my keyboard tray has a squeak, and I have a very bad tendency to lean on it every now and then. And I never heard it. And even when I played back what they sent me, I couldn't hear it, but they did. So I had to reread 80 lines or something where I had a keyboard squeak. But that was it. And I may never do another one, but I can at least say I tried. I tried.
Yeah, I do really enjoy it. Before we started, I told you guys that before the holiday, I fell and I broke my ankle. and I had to have surgery, and I'm still healing from that. And there was a good time. I couldn't even sit in the studio. It was just painful. I had to have my leg up, so I wasn't doing anything for a while. And I realized how much I missed it. And that was really actually, in a way, it was a good thing that happened, because it just made me realize that I didn't make a wrong choice, that this is something I really want to do. It's something I love to do. And now I am going to start working on an audiobook, and actually a topic that I'm enjoying, and that makes it even a lot better choice. That's the thing. If you have an audiobook that you don't like the topic,
I could imagine.
if it's not good writing, right, that's what makes it painful. But I've been fortunate. This is a good book. It's actually about decluttering. This is a nonfiction. I do a lot of nonfiction, which you still have to have that conversational. They don't want TED Talks. They don't want right. They want it conversational.
I just saw that. I think Karen Clark has started doing decluttering work. I think it's her. I'll have to look and see. I can't remember if it was her or somebody else, but somebody had posted. It may have been somebody else, but they had posted in our group that they're now doing decluttering for people.
Yeah,
and I thought that's kind of a neat side thing to do.
It is.
Yeah, that's a gift.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll learn more as I'm narrating. I'll learn more about living this simplistic minimalist life, the hygge life.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that before from the Danish?
I have not. I have not. And the little short book I did was on MRP systems, which is what I dealt with when I worked in logistics. So it was very easy, and the guy was in Georgia that wrote it. So when I read the preface and everything, I thought, I can do this, because it's 40,000 words. I can muddle my way through that. It wasn't bad, and I was interested all the way through, because it was different industries where they went in and put a system in, and what happened and why it screwed up or what they should have done better. And it was interesting to me, probably not a lot of other people, because I had been through 3 or 4 of those launches myself and saw how they got screwed up or what worked. And it was interesting to see from his perspective, because it was all to do with lumber and, how they got rid of scrap and how many pounds of sawdust went through there. Anyway, as boring as that is, to me, it was interesting.
No,
so it's like you said, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to the people that listen, because your enthusiasm for that's going to come through.
Yeah, hopefully they'll hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You never know. Kasey, tell us a little about what type of things you're doing in VO, the types of auditions you're seeing, where you're working, how things have progressed over the last year or so.
Yeah, I was really, really nervous, because it's scary. Like you were saying, I when I started out, I had no intention. I had no idea what I was doing. I was literally, I know everybody always says it, but I was on the floor of my closet in my old little apartment with a USB, like a Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
We all start off with the Blue Yeti. Yeah.
Oh,
You're not alone.
Yeah, I was with surrounded by all my clothes.
A blanket on your head.
Yes. and the reason I started was because, like I said, local news people do not make any money, and so I was used to doing side gigs. So I had done Uber, I had done Instacart, I had done I was just doing it, and I was like, this will just be a fun side thing. And so when I made this transition, I was really, really nervous, and I was like, am I just going to be, what am I going to do all day? Am I going to even be busy enough? But I have been really, really lucky that it's been keeping me really busy, and I think just being able to audition like it is, J. Michael says, the more at-bats you have every single day,
that's right.
the more, and so
that's right.
and that's what you need to just focus on, is as many at-bats as you can. And so, I've seen a lot of different styles of reads and stuff, and I think people were saying that kind of somewhat of an announcery, kind of authoritative read is coming back. And I have seen that a lot. I've been doing, a lot of things, like I said, for banks and for medical and hospitals and for Honeywell is a big one that I've been doing a lot of stuff for, where they kind of want that like authoritative read, and that helps a lot. And so those are fun because those are like in my comfort zone. But I really want to try to start branching outside of my comfort zone and doing maybe more like what you're doing with the audiobooks and more character stuff, because I think that's just a lot of fun.
This episode is sponsored by VO Inbox, the only full-service marketing tool for established professional voice actors.
We'll be right back with more of the VO Life. I think he went to the outhouse for a minute, but he will be back.
It is.
Neat. Very neat. Yeah, and you're right about the reads changing. We're seeing that. You're not, and that has to do with, coming out of COVID. We don't have to talk softly as much anymore. We don't have to worry about stepping on somebody's toes as much anymore, maybe. And the advertisers are getting a little more, not aggressive, but getting a little more back to normal, to where it went from apprehensive, and all this, and all of the commercials we kept having that had the doubt and the hope and all of that, and now they're coming back to, we got to sell stuff, so let's get it out there, but we can't cram it down their throat, but we need to let them know we're here and be, so I see a lot of, not over the top announcer, but not overly conversational. So
there's a balance.
There is. So it's pretty much like good diction, sell the product, hit the things, but don't yell. And then the other day to book one where it just said, absolutely let it fly, yell, scream, like the old under the tent,
You said, I am in.
I was like, I can't wait to do this. And luckily got it. And they, I think they're going to put me on for the whole year.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Congrats.
for a spa place. I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet, but it's spas, and you can hear all that pool and spa expo, blah 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 blah. So those are fun to do, and starting to see a few more car commercials go that way like they used to. Instead of we have the best service and blah 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 blah. Now it's come on in and get one for $29,995. And I love that. I like even hearing it. I don't care if it's me or not. I think it's good that those spots are out there. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So Shar, you mentioned part time. This was going to be a thing to do.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned the passion for it. So were you an avid reader before audiobooks?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so there you go. And I run into that all the time with people who do audiobooks. They're readers. I never, ever was a reader. I read what they made me read in school, and I might read a magazine article or a book maybe once every 5 or 6 years. You'll be interested to know, though, next week co-hosting is J. Rodney Turner, who has done hundreds of Westerns.
Ooh.
And if you haven't heard his voice, just wait. Oh, my gosh. And J. Rodney, oddly enough, lives about 4 miles from me.
Oh, wow.
So, but he's not coming here for the podcast. I told him he could. We could sit around the kitchen table and drink coffee. But
that would be nice.
But, he's going to join next week. And I think we have another guy that's going to be with us. His name's Bill Marsh. And Bill is a fairly new voice actor from over in the Carolinas or in Virginia, one or the other. And I met Bill at VO Atlanta a couple of years ago, and he came to One Voice last year also. Bill, super nice guy, kind of like myself. He was in his 50s and thinking about what could I do. I always wanted to do this, and he's going to retire, and he's, doing this thing. He's been at it for a couple of years, and really nice guy. So we're trying to balance with a little experience and somebody doesn't have a lot of experience and some variety, and it's going to be fun this summer getting everybody on. So with going in that circle, Shar, what do you look for out of voiceover in the future? You mentioned audiobooks and all. Will it continue to be just kind of something to do, or if it starts growing, or what if I land a big audiobook publisher and I've got all this to do? Which way can it go?
Oh, that's my goal. It's funny because I've just been doing this. I've been since I'm sitting around with my foot up and I'm not running around, I started writing out more of what do I want to do? Where am I going? And I want to let's put it out. We're going to manifest this today. I want to have, big publisher. I want to be able to do more fiction books where I'm really doing more characters. I love the nonfiction too, but I love doing characters. And I want to do something in animation. Maybe not video games. I don't know. There's not maybe a lot for my voice print in video games. Animation. I also love children's books, and I love children's animation. In fact, I'm going to start working on a voiceover for a real short one for a client right now. And I would love to do that. I want to do this full time. I want to make this bigger than what it is. But I want to keep it, like you were saying, I want to be able to really enjoy what it is that I'm doing. I don't want to just go crazy and, I don't know, like, you can get yourself sucked into projects without, by not saying no to something, and you're like, this really isn't for me either. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Now, Kasey, based on what you're saying and auditions you're seeing, are you booking more what I call broadcast or non-broadcast? What are you seeing more? And here's the big question: what's paying the bills?
Yeah.
That's what I always like to see.
I would say it's definitely a mix. I think a lot of what I do ends up being non-broadcast and internal stuff, but some of that internal stuff still pays pretty well, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing, and I think it's true for so many people, and I'm with you. I've been doing it 5 years now, so it's not a long time. I don't feel like I still feel like a total newbie, but I have people who even 5 years ago, when I still, again, on the floor with my Blue Yeti, had no idea what I was doing, I have people that still come back to me and work with me, and it's that repeat business that I think is the biggest thing for almost any working VO. That's the day-to-day stuff. People who come back to you, and maybe it's not even huge amounts, but it's, $250 here or $500 here or whatever, and things like that, but they come to you multiple times in a month or multiple times in a week, and those are really, really the relationships that are really good. And it's even just for small things, but automotive, like that, people who come back and have multiple spots a month. But those returning clients, I feel like for anyone, and you want to make people a returning client as well, which is not always easy to do, but I think that's the key. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Building a base of your own clients, and then when you do book an agent job or a production company reaches out or whatever, and it's a big hit, you pick up the 3,500 or the 5,000 or what, you're like, holy smokes, this goes on top of my base.
Yes.
And those are where you're going, all right, savings account, or that'll take care of this problem. I had this problem with a house and this is going on, and thank goodness that came in.
Right.
Because you live off your base, and that's what a lot of us do that are out here hustling every day and every week. We have worked hard in our first few years to build up this handful of clients who keep coming back, thank goodness, and then we keep trying to add to that by doing three things, and one is either through agent work, which for me is a small percentage, but when you book it, it's wonderful. The other is through your direct marketing that you do, and then the third is just through the look what I found, is what I like to call it, things you may stumble across or somebody finds you through your website or online. I booked 2 jobs last year because agents could not find a person who could do VO and be an auctioneer at the same time. They didn't know. Yeah. I said, well, you need a licensed auctioneer. Well, they said they could do it, but nobody could do it. Well, that's a very unique specialty. But if they go search that on the web, voiceover auctioneer, they'll find me. Oh, and that was how I got found. I had 2 agents book me for, Yeti and for General Mills because they tried other people and it didn't work. That's that look what I found stuff. You don't get much of it, but it's kind of cool. So do you do any marketing? Do you do direct marketing? How do you go look for those clients right now, Kasey?
I'm going to give a big shout out to that VA for VO. I was hesitant for years. And when I made that jump to full-time last year, right around this time last year, I ended up working with one. I'm working with Miranda, and she is incredible. And she has helped me so much because I told her, I said, I'm pretty much... I have no idea what to do. Marketing myself is not my strong suit. Like, I don't like talking about myself a lot, really. I was just so scared of that idea. And so she has been such a help. And I would encourage anyone, even if it's just, someone that you're having help you like 1 or 2 hours a week, that can really, really pay off. And you end up getting a lot of responses and things that I would have never even thought to do. It's just a whole other skill set, I feel like, that she has and that these VAs have. So I would totally recommend that.
Yeah, that is a great approach, And some people who have the time and they have the want to do it on your own, that's great. Some people pay for a program, Mark Scott, Paul Smith, whoever. Marketing is marketing. I say this all the time, no matter who you pay to teach you to do it. And that is another great way to do it. I, for one, have been so afraid to let go of things, and I keep thinking, well, what am I going to do those 2 hours a day that I market now? And I like to stay busy, so I'm hanging on to it. But down the road, I'm right there with you. I think that's the way to go, and I'd like to do the same. Now, Shar, what about you? Do you do your own reach outs to publishers yet, or are you just now tell us where you're at with your... I knew
you're going to ask that, and I like you, Kasey. Kasey, you're not alone. I was just skulking around in a couple of our other VO groups, and these are people who are, they've been doing this for quite some time, and they all say, I don't like talking about myself. I don't like reaching
true with
out.
A lot of us.
Yeah.
A lot of introverts.
We're a lot of introverts. And so that's one of the things. I haven't done a huge amount. I have done some, and I am on some rosters. But I need to do more. And that's part of my goal. I have to. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I forced myself, Troy.
Did you?
To send you the message saying, sure, I'll do this. This is so out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, it's good to get out of that zone.
It's better than my first time that I did something similar to this. I'm not even bringing up what it was. Y'all will know it. No, I'm going to say it. But I think I blacked out during that call, that whole thing. I don't even know what I said. This is better. This is... So by the next time, I'll be even more comfortable whenever I have to do something like this. So...
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I'm gonna do a kind of a quick rundown, and I'll start with Kasey. And just a yes or no and a quick comment. Pay to plays.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Favorite pay to play?
Voice 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Good. Agents?
Yes.
Yep. And you already mentioned marketing through your VA. If you had to, Kasey, go back and go talk to 18-year-old Kasey, knowing what you know now, and you go give that Kasey advice, knowing what you remember at 18, what you thought you were going to be doing and where you were going, what would you go tell 18-year-old Kasey today?
I would have liked for her to start in this sooner. I think she would have really enjoyed it a lot. And I think that, but you can't go back in time. But I think I would tell her not to put herself in a box, not to limit herself, because I think it's something I still struggle with today as 37-year-old Kasey is. I think it's so hard to say, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, even when my friend kind of suggested that I look into doing this for the first time, I think it's hard to put yourself out there. And it's something I think that all of us struggle with.
Yeah.
And I just think just kind of having that confidence that, you know what, yes, I can do this. And yes, I'm going to put myself out there. And, we all have that imposter syndrome, should I even be talking about this? But we all have our own experiences, and we all have that unique thing to share. So I think I would just tell her, go for it. Don't be scared. And I feel like once you kind of get past that, and I am not there yet, but I feel like then that's when you get to where the sky is the limit.
Yeah. I don't think we ever get over some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because whether it's, being an introvert or whatever it is, self-confidence, whatever it is, but sometimes that energy will help you. And lean into that because, you are at a great age. You have a long career ahead of you. And here I am thinking where I'm at is, I may get 10, 15 more years. You never know. I mean, there are people that voice up into their 70s. But my thing is, and I tell people this sometimes, they say, why are you coaching with so-and-so and trying to get into that? I said, because time is running out.
Yes.
That's why. I can't do all this other for 10 more years and then decide, well, I'd be really good for this, or maybe I could do that. I have to do it now. And that's why I try to be versatile and go after as much of it as I can, because I love doing it, and there'll be a time to when I can't do it. So I want to do it, go at it as hard as I can while I can. And that's what makes it fun. All right, Shar, I'm going to kind of change the perspective on your question. It's very similar, but I want you to go to yourself at, say, around age 30 and look back at where you were at 30 years old and say, if I had to go back at 30 and make some changes in life to either change where I'm at now or to make things better, or just to give some advice, hey, here's what's coming up in the next 20 years, what would you go tell 30-year-old Shar?
Well, I'll tell you, I was at 32, I was having my first baby. So I don't think that I'd say, hang on, you're going to be doing other things. Enjoy this time, which I did. So and I don't regret that. I don't regret that at all.
That's good.
And now that I'm kind of like you, now I'm in, I'm 57.
It's your time.
It's
That's
my
what you're
time.
Saying. It's my time.
And, you start realizing, like you said, time is not, infinite. If there's things that you want to do, you've got to just...
you got to go for it.
You got to go for it. But, do what makes you, what you feel passionate about. I got into this because I'm passionate about acting, about storytelling, and that's, and I'm seeing more opportunities, like you were saying, Troy. Amazingly, even at this age, there's still a lot
absolutely
for us to do and to grow. And if there comes a time where I'm not enjoying this, I'll do, I'll focus on other aspects of the business. If something goes wrong with the voice, I'll look at where else can I offer something of value,
Yeah, and look at those two different perspectives. Kasey would go back and say, hurry up, let's do this now. And you're saying, I would go back and say, you're good.
You're good.
It's coming later.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Exactly.
That's really awesome.
You still have so much. Kasey, you have so much time.
But
So much
let me
time.
say this too, and I don't say this trying to scare anybody at all, but you're going to wake up one day and be right where we're at, and you're going to say, holy smokes, that was quick.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you, I think the period to me between 40 and 60 may have been one of the faster parts of life.
Yeah.
But
Really?
what I'm seeing right now, by being home, working at home, my wife works Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. She works at a hospital and does 3 12-hour shifts.
Oh,
She
wow.
comes home Monday. She comes home Monday and sleeps. So we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's almost like a 4-day weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when I get up on Monday morning and I get after it, the next thing I know, she's going to work on Friday. And the next thing I know, it's January, and then it's April, and then it's January. And I'm like, I've been doing this 3 years.
Yeah.
She's been on this shift for 3 years, and it's flying by. And that's the sad part, I think, as we get older. It really moves fast. It really does. And even my mother, who is now 87, is telling me that even though you sit there a lot of days by yourself all day, the next thing you know, it's the weekend. The next thing you know, it's the weekend. The next thing you know, it's another birthday. And so it does. It goes fast. So enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
I know I did. I have no regrets in life. I have raised some wonderful kids, some that weren't even mine, that I married into. And I don't regret any of that, and the career I had and the career that I missed, because somewhat like where Kasey's at, I walked into broadcasting school at 18 years old. I wanted to go into radio. I wanted to go into some kind of media, and my dad, he didn't talk me out of it. He just said, there's no way I would pay that kind of money to come here and for what they're doing. Go to college, and you can learn this in college. They teach it in college, and then take some business courses. And then 6 months later, he had me come to the house, and he said, I'm opening a business. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Do you want in? And I got in, and I'll promise you the education I got in 12 years with him was way better than the one they were given at college. And I got to spend 12 years in a family business, and then went into automotive, and then all the other things. I don't regret any of it, because all of that brought me to where I am, and that's the way we have to look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
it made you who you are.
Yeah.
It does. All of that helps with what I do now. All of the experiences I had, plays into this.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Kasey, give advice to and somebody told me, please don't call people newbies, call them new talent. I said, okay. Give advice to the new talent out there who are in their first year. They're struggling, because when I started, it was a little easier to start. Although there were a lot of people starting and a lot of people have fallen off, it's harder now to get the work early. So how about advice for those people who are out there? What will help them keep going?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is. It's a tough time to start, but you don't let that scare you. Please just go for it. And I think the big thing that I would tell people starting out is, even if you are just starting, you need to place a value on your work, and you need to not just accept, scraps. And it's easy to think that when you're first starting. You're like,
Absolutely.
oh, okay, I'll just
take
read all this for $10 or anything. Yeah, $10 or $50 is better than nothing. I would discourage you from that, because I think once you have the training and once you feel ready to jump in, I think it becomes really, really hard, because things will take off, and you just don't want to be doing that kind of work all throughout your career. So I think the biggest thing that I would say is know your worth, and just try to have that confidence. Even though it's scary, just say, I've got this. Mm-hmm. And I guess the other big thing I would say is it's all about relationships. I think it's all about just being a good person, a real person. These clients, these people you're working with, they are real people, and they just want to be treated like real people. And I think that is very, very valuable. Is just kind of looking at them as these are business relationships, And I have friends that I've made in the years doing this. So I think it's it's a scary time to start, but it's also an exciting time. I kind of wish I was a newbie again, even though I still feel like one. And I embrace that newbie term. I kind of like it. I think
like it too. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's terrible. And, recapping a little bit of that is, people like to do business with someone they know and trust, and get to know people. You don't have to get to know them day one when you're marketing to them, but once they respond to you, definitely dig in, get to know them, see if you can solve their problems, and they'll love you for it. They'll stick with you. All right, Shar, what about you?
Same kind of track. I mean, if you have a passion for it, if you're really loving it, just stick with it. It is a long journey, like we've all talked about. It's not a quick thing. It's you're building a business. I mean, look at other entrepreneurs. I knew a lot of serial entrepreneurs from my corporate time long ago, and they all said the same thing. They would go through 5 businesses. They'd learn something every time, right? And 5 businesses would fail, and they'd keep going. You're building a business. It's a career, and it's a passion. But it's going to take time. And as long as it's bringing you joy, and you're not hating it, getting in there and doing this,
right?
Just keep at it. And you'll find where you feel like you fit, and you'll find what you love, and you'll build these relationships like with you guys and all the different groups, and just get out there, put yourself out there, and don't don't give up. So many, like you said, Troy, there's so many people every day, we're seeing them selling their equipment.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, too, I mean, for those folks, maybe it isn't something that they have passion for and they love. And that's okay, too. Right. It's okay to find out that, well, maybe this isn't what I wanted to do. That's okay, too. But don't give up after just a short amount of time thinking, hey, there's so many people out there doing this.
True.
You got to give it some effort and some time.
Yeah, there can be a place. There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the group that I kind of had known for a few years, and he all of a sudden told me he was done. Well, actually, 2 people this past year said, I'm done. I'm not doing. And he was at one time very successful on Fiverr. He had the most perfect Morgan Freeman impression you've ever heard, and he booked tons of work in that, but he never got the foothold he wanted for his voice. And he said, my passion, he said, even though I could do that and I made money at it and it was a big help, that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I just couldn't catch on any other way, so I just don't want to do it anymore.
And that's important to know,
it's okay.
too. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay to give up. Yeah. It's okay to, I won't say give up, it's okay to quit. If it's not working, it's okay to quit. I mean,
to go in another direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there may be something else. But what it did, it afforded him the opportunity to leave where he was at, move to a location in the country he wanted to move to, be able to afford to do all that, get another job, and then it worked out to where he could say, I'm not doing it anymore, and he sold all his stuff.
There you go.
But it got him through a period, and that's pretty neat too. But some other people just, they hack at it, and it may not be lack of talent. It may be lack of business sense. They didn't approach it as a business properly, and it didn't take off for them, so they quit. And you got to have both. This is one of those things. You got to be talented, and you got to have a business head, and you got to be able to juggle all this, or it gets really, really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us.
This
These are
is a
two
lot of
really
fun. Yeah.
really great perspectives here today, and I hope people appreciate it as much as I have today. Want to invite everybody to join us next week. J. Rodney Turner and Bill Marsh will be here, and we've got some really great guests coming up. Tim Powers is going to be on here soon. Charles Coates and Jake Sanders will rejoin me. We'll kind of reunite the Another VO podcast trio, or really it's 4 of us, a quartet, I guess. We'll all get together, and we're going to talk about One Voice coming up, and this will be on up into July. But several people coming on in the next couple of months. Awesome. And this is our kickoff, and I really enjoyed it because I haven't seen Kasey in a long time and was very curious how she was doing. And Shar, congratulations again on the audition. To be honest, there were 3 of us that listened to everything, and you were unanimous. You won it unanimous, so
wow.
Good job.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I hope everybody enjoyed hearing the spot. We just kind of played it raw. We didn't put any effects or anything on it, but I could hear things as I listened to your read. I said, we could put this in there and this music and this, and it would be really good. And so anyway, great job using your imagination and stretching on that, because we all have to stretch.
Yeah.
All right, closing comments. You guys got anything to say before we get out of here? I don't want to keep you all day.
I had a good time. It was nice meeting you, Kasey, and thanks, Troy, for getting me out of my comfort zone.
Cool. Good.
Same thing. I had a wonderful time. And I just thank you, Troy, for what you've done in this business. I feel like you are just, I don't know, just such a great voice to be out there. And I think you're just so relatable and just down to earth. And I just am really thankful that you're a part of this community.
Yes.
So.
Well, I hate to say it again, but bless your heart.
It's true. It is true.
And not bless your heart in the sarcastic way that a lot of people love to do.
Not the one where you say that and then talk about it.
Yeah, at the end of, I just love your hair, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, we'll give you that one. Well, you guys have a great week, and anytime you can reach out, do that. Love to hear from you, and hope everybody enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week right here on The VO Life.
This podcast was produced under the authority of the Podcast Police, who may or may not have investigated the host and guests prior to broadcasting. Any unlawful statements will be investigated further and persecuted to the fullest extent of the podcast law.
I'm Kasey Hott, and you're listening to Troy Holden on the VO Life.